working on.
Ready, Captain.
I'd been obsessed with the idea of war for 3 or 4 years, often dreaming extremely violent dreams centered around the theme of destruction. I believe now that my concern with death on a mass scale was intimately tied into my personal life. Carl Jung has suggested that all personal problems are relevant to society, and that any sufficiently profound solution to a personal problem may, if communicated, reduce the likelihood of that problem existing in anyone else's experience in the future. I had a notion that confronting what terrified me, what turned my dreams against me, could help me withstand that terrible thing. This idea allowed me to believe that I could find what I most wanted if I was willing to follow wherever it led me, knowing somehow that once started, an aborted attempt would destroy at least my self-respect, at most my sanity.
Very soon, I'll be closing the doors to my jewelry boutique. Forever. This is your last chance. All my handcraft...
I knew that he had been bothered by bad dreams and was very conscientious about what was going on in the world. For a while, thought he could solve it with political action, and that disappeared. And then he seemed to kind of take a route that led him into, why were there wars? And why was man so damn miserable to each other?
My experience with students has been that none of them know anything about what happened as a consequence of the repression of the radical left in the 20th century. But the reason that I believe that this is important in a personality class is because it's necessary to analyze the relationship between the psychological integrity of the individuals within a society and the propensity of that society to engage in, say, acts of mass atrocity.
The Joe Rogan experience. We have this class called Maps of Meaning, which concentrates on atrocity, basically, on Soviet atrocity and Nazi atrocity mostly. And what I try to do in the class is to teach my students that had they been in Nazi Germany in the 1930s, they would have been Nazis. And had they been offered the opportunity to be an Auschwitz camp guard, then maybe they would have leapt at it. And maybe they would have been in the more sadistic proportion of the Auschwitz camp guard population. You think that makes you feel safe? It doesn't make you feel safe to know that Nazis were humans and you happen to be one of them. I guess we didn't talk about this one. That's not a copy, that's an original. And there's a bit of the statue of David in this one, I think, because the hands are quite exaggerated in size, and that, at least in principle, gives the figure more power, because hands are so powerful. So, obviously he's on a podium, he's about the same size as me in representation, but his hands are at least 50% bigger than they would be in real life. So it's kind of an interesting technique. So people ask me, sometimes people are shocked when they come into the house because I've got paintings of Lenin. It's not like I don't know he was an absolutely murderous tyrant, but I want to understand it. I think I scared my wife half to death when I was buying them, though, because, you have to be pretty not easily worried to not be concerned if your husband goes and buys like 500 paintings. But she really likes art, so it wasn't that big a struggle. So we can go and look in the living room. There's good old Carl. My daughter, for Christmas one year, she found a plush doll that was Karl Marx at some
intellectual kids toy store, and he was on sale for 50% off, so she bought me that for Christmas, which I thought was real funny because, it's one thing to buy Soviet-era artifacts online for nothing in this capitalist market, which I thought was extremely hilarious, but to buy a 50% off Karl Marx doll, that was just exactly perfect. So...
There's a message from the event organizers.
Yeah.
It says, we're dealing with a crisis at the moment regarding the risk management department possibly pulling our approval to run the event. I'm trying very hard to make sure this doesn't happen, but we'll need to discuss with Dr. Peterson how we can proceed if this occurs
I'll
in
fucking
minutes.
go anyways.
He's probably going to call you.
I'm going to call him.
Okay.
Hi there, it's Dr. Peterson calling. Yeah, and who is the risk management office? What needs to be done here is I need the names and the phone numbers of the people who are making this decision. Yep. Scumrats. So the risk management office is thinking about pulling their permission.
Yeah.
And if they go ahead with it, then they cancel them as a club for the next year.
You're kidding. That's threatening.
That's called blackmail.
Blackmail, that's it. Yeah.
That made me mad.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Shaking again. Oh well.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big
Did you want a drink of juice?
No. Thanks. Some tea would be nice.
You're getting juice.
Okay. I think it's safe to wear a tie.
What, you think they'll strangle you with it? Yeah, sure. I don't see it being anything, really. Just a lot of...
You think it's a lot of noise?
Lot of fluff, yeah.
Probably.
Alright guys, listen up, listen. Security services is in this building, we've been working with them for a while. We have officers outside. So please, everyone, if we can be respectful, if we can leave.
Piece of shit! Transphobic piece of shit! Transphobic piece of shit! This is where we draw the line! 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 Let him speak! Let him speak! Let him speak! Let him speak! Let him speak!
So I've received... You can hold that, but if you definitely with it, I will take it away from you.
You want me to take that?
I'm not kidding.
We're giving a speech, it applies to air horns too.
No, it doesn't apply to
Yes, it
deputies. So I'm not kidding. I will take it.
Your words
Don't
hurt
honk
my
me again.
ears. My snowflake views are hurt by your hard words.
Campus security. Okay, well, thanks guys for tuning in and again for offering support for the continued operation of my YouTube channel.
Acá estoy mejorando la cosita.
We're in a chaotic time, and I've got letters from people all over the world who tell me how they can't say what they think. Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, the unprecedented international media phenomenon.
Is any of this, all the pressure and the scandal every 3 weeks, is it weigh on you?
Yeah, it's like simultaneously the worst possible thing and the best possible thing that could happen.
Well, financially, it's been a boom, right?
I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to because it's just so goddamn funny. I can't help but say it. I figured out how to monetize social justice warriors.
This is Sam Harris, and today I am speaking with a guest who has become quite famous online for standing in opposition to changes to the Human Rights Code in Ontario, Canada. And he is actually the most requested guest I've had at this point.
Hi all. Are you coming to the talk?
What time is it?
6:30.
6:30? I'll be there.
Ah, ni idea, boludo.
Jeez, I'm a name brand guy.
Ni idea, boludo.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking weird.
45.
Oh. 18.
The public response has been overwhelmingly positive, so I think that's given him like steam. You know, it's made it easier for him to just keep at it.
And I was really stressed at the beginning. That was a big decision for him to speak out. I would say that, though, a lot of the credit goes to Michaela, because Michaela helped him with his diet.
This, as we shall discover, is kind of the family curse in the Peterson family, isn't it? You have had depression yourself.
One of the family curses.
You've been dealing with depression yourself for much of your life, right? Since when did you?
That's hard to say. I mean, it might have been for my whole life, like as far back as I can remember. I know that when I was a child, I had a very low threshold for tears.
Last September, I went on an elimination diet, and then just out of the blue, like 2 months into the diet, my depression went away, and I wasn't expecting that to happen because I thought, you know, chemical imbalance is what doctors tell you, and I just thought I was stuck with it forever. I made a list of all the foods I knew didn't cause depression, and I told Dad that he had to do it, and he was like, well, that doesn't sound realistic, but I'll give it a try because it worked for you.
I used to get up in the morning. I'd get up at 5:30, 6:30, 7, you know, sometime like that. I'd do some yoga, I'd have some tea, I'd read a book, I'd make some breakfast, I'd call Jordan. Then I'd call Jordan, and he couldn't get up. It was hard. And now, like, I wake up, oh, it's really early, and I sneak out of the room, and I sneak upstairs, and I'm being really quiet, and then I hear, Tammy, and I say, yeah, what time is it? It's 5:45. Oh, are you doing yoga? Yeah. Okay, I'll be right up. That never happened. In my 28 years of being married, that's never happened. It's been a remarkable transformation.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he used to talk like a revolutionary, but now he acts like one.
So I thought, bring full closure to the class, I was trying to solve this terrible puzzle about how it was that human beings got themselves in such a tangle about what they believed. Such a tangle that we were pointing the ultimate weapons of destruction at one another. And it seemed to me that the proper solution to that was to live properly as an individual, because you're more powerful than you think. Way more powerful than you think. I mean, God only knows what you are in the final analysis. So how far could you take that? If you stopped wasting time, and if you stopped lying, and if you oriented yourself to the highest possible good that you could conceive of, and you committed to that, how much good could you do?
There's so much more than just like intellectual ideas. This is why I also, on your Joe Rogan podcast, why I was like, oh, everything is kind of going to be online, and that's great. It's like, no, that's nice, that's a good thought, but we need people. We need like embodied people in front of us, like it's like the person.
Well, that's interesting. So that gives me something to think about too, because I'm trying to figure out how many talks I should go to. You know, and I keep there.
People need to see and to like shake your hand and to like, or just like people need to be around people.
Okay.
We're not vessels.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Thank you for keep on keeping on.
Oh yeah.
not an overstatement. His book 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos may just be the biggest bestseller ever written by a Canadian author.
You guys know the book is just blown out. Everything that this man is doing is just absolutely exploding. And you're in the right kind of revolution. I really believe that. You guys are in not the bloody revolution. Yeah, you're in on the idea revolution.
You ignore this encrypted prayer. God may also ignore you. The universe says that whoever is listening to this audio will be blessed with financial prosperity, as they will be in touch with.
Rule 7 is to do what's meaningful and not what is expedient, and that's a lovely thing to know. And it's allied tightly with Rule 8. The two go together because you can't really do one without the other. Rule 8 is to tell the truth, or at least don't lie. And one of the things that I think I figured out is that if you're going to follow the instinct for meaning, and I truly believe that there is an instinct for meaning, and not only that there is an instinct for meaning, but that it's the most real thing that there is.
From him, and then he was like, "Hey, Jordan Peterson's coming to talk. Do you want to go see him?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go do that." And then I don't know, kind of just fit in because my birthday was coming up shortly.
It's easy to go down the path of just, I'm good enough, I don't need to improve from here. And I think hearing him just saying that you owe it to yourself, you owe it to people in your community, that you do need to clean up your room, get your stuff together, and make your community a better place. It's an important thing to be said in a time where I don't think it's said nearly as much.
Up until I had seen him, I was sort of drifting around, I would say. I was spending a lot of time just doing things that are inconsequential and a bit unproductive. After following him and really learning about how to act in the world is what I would say he taught me to do. And I just became a lot more aware of all the things that I needed to change. Here's the book. I've reread it multiple times and reread specific passages of it multiple times because because this is sort of an iteration of his entire method. After you follow him this much, he sort of becomes like a legendary figure in your mind, while also retaining an incredibly maybe just me. I'm speaking only for myself. I mean, legendary. Yeah. I may be going too far. Do I do that, guys? I can't really judge it by myself.
It's understandable if you hold a high opinion of someone, and then you don't really you can't really talk about a lot of this stuff at school, especially we're at an art school. You can't talk about a lot of this stuff. So when you finally talk about someone you have a high opinion of, you can go further than you actually feel.
Yeah, I agree. I have been doing that a little bit, but I don't think I'm going that far. I mean, he's had a huge effect, and I really don't want to understate that.
Hi, Matthew.
Peterson, it's such an honor. I gotta thank you so much. You've helped me improve my relationship with my father.
Yay.
You've helped me rekindle my faith in religion. And one of the best things is you have given me the courage to stand up for my conservative and libertarian beliefs in the classroom.
How's that working out?
Oh, the history teacher's mad.
Yeah?
But we've got a few kids in our class keeping the neo-Marxist history teacher in check. There's just a few students there. They're all watching him and making sure he doesn't say anything out of line. It's quite funny.
That's hilarious.
We all watch you. We all watch Ben.
God, he must just hate me.
That's great. Let's get a picture.
It's really good to meet you. So you getting sharp?
Yeah.
Good.
Ready?
Say hi to your friends for me. Tell them to keep it up and to be gentle. All right. Hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
Connor.
Hi, Connor.
Wow.
How are you doing? Did you enjoy the talk?
Yeah.
Good.
Definitely.
So what are you doing here?
I came here to see you.
Have you been watching videos?
Yeah, since 2016. You were a lot taller than I expected. I didn't picture that.
Straight.
Right.
All right. Okay. Good to meet you, man. I'm glad you came.
Yeah, this is so fantastic.
Everybody, 1, 2, 3. My name's Anthony. I just want to say thanks for everything.
No problem, man.
You've done so much for me, and I really, really appreciate it.
Great, man. I'm thrilled to hear it. You bet.
Thank you.
You bet, man.
Just meeting him, it just a lot of emotions came over me because I've spent so much time in the dark and in bad places mentally that it's really it's not easy to find. Not so much heroes, but people that can be so helpful for you in your life.
You bet, man.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you. See ya. I was out after my talk. It's overwhelming. I don't usually think about these things, but I was after my talk last night, and so all these people line up. They have their 15 seconds with me, and they're kind of tentative. They're excited and tentative when they come up to talk to me, and then they have 15 seconds of time to tell me something. I'm really listening to them, and they're hesitant about whether or not to share the good news about their life. And I think it's often because when people share good news about their life, people don't necessarily respond positively. They don't get encouragement. And people need so little encouragement. It's just unbelievable. The truth is something that burns. It burns off dead wood. And people don't like having their dead wood burnt off. Keep talking, bucko. Sort yourself out. The more responsibility you take on, the more meaning your life has. I've been telling people online in various ways in lectures that they should start fixing up the world by cleaning up their room. So imagine you're dealing with someone who's hoarding. There's like 10,000 things in their house. There's maybe 100 boxes, and you open up a box, and in the box there's some pens and some old passports and some checks and their collection of silver dollars, and there's boxes and boxes and boxes. It's absolute chaos in there. Absolute chaos, not order. Chaos. And then you think, is that their house or is that their being? Is that their mind? And the answer is, there's no difference. There's no difference. So, I could say, well, if you want to organize your psyche, you could start by organizing your room. So people have been taking the things that I've been saying and making them into merchandise. These are bumper stickers that someone sent me. There's a book, I don't know how many of them, but quite a few. Clean Your Room, which has become some kind of internet meme. Horrified to see this room. This is the only room in the house that's messy. Can't really keep up with everything. That'll teach me. Be mouthy about cleaning up your room. Can't possibly express how grateful I am to you for all the ways you have and continue to help me. What you're doing for society is really important. I don't know what to make of it. It's all part of the same strange thing, I suppose, whatever that thing is. What here? Let's just see. That's poster that someone spent an awful lot of time making, which is, well, I don't even know what to say about that. I first got to know Jordan when he applied for a job in psychology at the University of Toronto. That was about 20 years ago. After he was hired, I think he was a good hire. I mean, I remained his strong advocate for many years. So this is the third floor of our house where Jordan and his family lived for about 5 months. It looked a little different then, but this is where it was. And we all ate together downstairs. There was not a kitchen up here. And we had these kind of lovely 5 months.
We got to know each other very well, got to know his family very well. And afterwards, it remained a kind of familial relationship. I didn't write this article to persuade Jordan of anything. I wrote this because I thought there were people out there who should know what's going on.
I'm about to spill my secret that's given all of my clients the lips of their dreams. Seriously, I'm talking about plumper, smoother, fuller lips with less lines inside.
What was extremely upsetting to me was the disregard for students, and he was extremely polarizing at a time that more polarization was not helpful.
Well, it caused grief, I would say, is the right way of thinking about it. I regard Bernie as a friend, and he had been a very good friend to me in all sorts of ways, and to my family. So it came out of the blue. That was the other thing. It was a real surprise. And I was surprised that we hadn't discussed any of this.
I called him and I said, I'm really upset with what you're doing. I find it really, I was having a blood pressure problem. I said, I don't want to talk about this, but I want you to know that, and I said all these things. He called 8 o'clock the next morning. Bernie, we have to talk. So we're talking. He says, I know this is a sensitive issue in your family. It's not. I have a trans daughter, but Jane's doing extremely well. And I started saying, it bothers me, and I'm about to repeat what I had written, and he interrupts me and he says, Bernie, you don't understand. I'm willing to give up everything because I really believe this. I'm willing to give up my job. I'm willing to give up, I don't remember what else he put on the line, because I believe it. And then he says, and Bernie, Tammy, that's his wife, had a dream. I said, okay, what was the dream? And sometimes your dreams are prophetic. What was the dream? She dreamed it was 5 minutes to midnight. The end of the world. And Jordan is there to save us from that. And I know Jordan pretty well by now, and I'm saying, okay, Jordan, there's really nothing to talk about. And I hung up. So it is true that he did call me a number of times since then, many times, and I did not return the calls because he was on a roll. I was watching what he was doing. I thought he was getting nastier, angrier, and I thought there was no reason to talk because I knew there was no access to Jordan except to say, Jordan, you're doing a great thing, and I believe what you're doing. I did not do this lightly. It's not something I would have liked to do. And it's only the fact that so many people, I'm getting these emails from people saying they're glad that I wrote it, that makes me feel okay, it was the right thing to do. I'm one of those female academics you refer to. I don't have tenure, and I've completed my PhD late in life. My university has become polarized around the issues that Peterson speaks about. To express any opinion on Peterson's theories places one firmly in a for or anti-camp. There is no reason to critique camp. So like a true coward, I watch and what I say, I must do in silence.
I think that to some degree that it's true that I'm a polarizing figure. I'm a polarizing figure because I'm adamantly opposed to the collectivist notions of people on the left and the right. And that produces a certain amount of polarization, but I don't think that can be laid at my feet. I think it's part and parcel of the fact that we're in polarized times, and I've done what I can when I thought it was necessary to pull that polarization back.
What I knew about is the teacher-like quality of his. He's been interested in the authoritarian personality. He's been fascinated by the horrible people in history. His house is filled with Stalinist art. He says to remind him about the awful things about culture. And he has a number of YouTubes in which he describes how they operate. And he was doing exactly the same thing.
I spent a lot of time thinking about Hitler, and I was thinking, well, how do you get into a state like that, you know? And you think, well, he's a dictator and he led his people down a bad path. It's like, that's not right. That is not what happened. They had a conspiracy together and went down a bad path. Now, think about it this way. The crowd's not happy and neither are you, and there's a reason for it. And so you start talking to them. You don't know what you're upset about, and neither does the crowd. So you start to articulate some things about why you might be upset. And some of them fall flat, but you're paying attention to the crowd. And some of the things make the crowd really wake up and listen. And so you start saying more of those things. But it's not like you're sitting there saying, although you might be, I'm going to tell this crowd more what it wants to hear. It's more sophisticated than that. And so you do that 1,000 times, and you do that to ever-increasing crowds. And the crowd really starts to go mad. And they basically tell you that you're the savior of the nation. It's like, how many bloody people have to tell you that before you start to believe it?
Marissa Tomei looks amazing at 59. Here's her number one secret.
Many foods we're eating are missing certain elements, certain properties that all of us, but particularly women, need to be healthy and thrive. I'm not just talking about junk food.
Franklin says fans are cancer for the authentic individual. Well, I guess what you're pointing out is the danger of fame. I can't say that I'm particularly comfortable with it, which might seem to be rather hypocritical, as it isn't like I've shied away from exposing my views in public. However, I would say, I think that's mostly because of the responsibility. You know, I've been terrified for a whole year that I'd say something, you know, unforgivably stupid and demolish myself in public and feel guilty and horrible about that for the rest of my life. I can't imagine what it would be like to be hated publicly. I think that would just kill me. I really think that.
Our next guest is the kind of guy people either love or hate. Clinical psychologist Jordan B. Peterson has been described as one of the most influential thinkers of our time, but also as an alt-right figurehead who spouts conspiracies.
People associate you with pandering to like white supremacists.
You are a provocateur.
I never said
You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to.
Because the political agenda that I oppose was being driven by the people on the radical left. Those are the people that I've been taking to task, let's say. Didn't expect that the initial reaction would be, oh, you must be a Nazi. My sense is, generally speaking, that if people want to talk to me about what I'm doing, then I talk to them. Now, you might say, well, be careful who you talk to. It's like, well, fair enough. And then one last thing. I'm not exactly sure what to make of the alt-right and then one last thing. I'm not sure what. And then one last thing. I'm not sure how to understand the alt-right or to characterize it or even to know what to think about its hypothetical existence or my association with it. But I can tell you that I'm not in favor of people banding together in ideological groups, and instead would much rather see people live fundamentally productive and meaningful and honest individual lives, and in that manner be a light unto their neighbors, so to speak. So I would encourage those of you who are considering yourself, say on the alt-right for that matter, as well as on the radical left, to transcend your dangerous and impersonal ideological identification and start to live as true individuals in the world. That's what I think, and I hope that I've been communicating that, and if I haven't, well, I apologize, because that's what I've been trying to do.
interested is Christian symbolism and symbolism in general. I first encountered Jordan on listening to him on the CBC. I was driving and I couldn't believe what I was hearing because it was so close to what I thought. And so from then on, we kind of got to know each other and realized we both have a very symbolic vision of the world. We both see the world manifesting itself in patterns. And so I think that Jordan is playing this kind of in-between character, and he's kind of standing in between different sides because the left has been winning the culture war, let's say, for the past decades. Because of that, the fact that Jordan is standing there more, I think he's standing quite in the middle, and he's trying to call the attention to the fact that the left is becoming totalitarian, then obviously people who are more on the right are going to see him as their hero, let's say.
And I've had very, very few, but the odd letter from, and really, I mean, I could count them on the fingers of one hand, from neo-Nazis, self-stated, who say some variant of, we understand completely that you have no time for us, but we think you're wrong. Okay, well.
One of the things that I think that has been amazing in what he's been doing is that, this is hard for people on the left to really understand, is that he has actually been tempering the right. And I think he knows that he's been doing that. Because we've all felt that there is this really radical right that's bubbling underneath, and it's there. There's no doubt about it that it's there. But the problem is, what do you do with those people? How do you interact with them? Like, if you just say, oh, they're evil, like, let's not talk to them, we just need to shut them out, it's just going to keep growing.
One of the things that's happened to me over the last year, somewhat surprisingly, is that I've been invited to speak in front of a lot of conservative groups. And, I would talk about what was going on in the universities and what I thought might constitute a reasonable antidote to that, and that was the adoption of responsibility, and this was actually a saleable message to young people.
He's saying, be part of a community, get a family, have friends, get a job. Like, that's how you can be a right-winger. Not this stupid Nazi flirting with these Nazi ideologies. That's useless.
You see that building the size of several football fields just behind me? What's happening inside those walls is so incredible that Elon's competitors have been flying drones over this building trying to get any kind of intel on this project. Now, inside those walls, Elon recently flipped the switch on Project Colossus, which he called the most powerful supercomputer of any kind in the world. I believe this supercomputer will create the world's first superhuman-like AI and make a lot of people rich in the process. According to Fortune, this next-gen AI could advance civilization and change the course of human history. Forbes says it will eventually reshape everything. The futurist and Google's director of engineering, Ray Kurzweil, the man who predicted the rise of the internet in the 1990s, said this new AI will unleash a technological change so rapid and so profound it represents a rupture in the fabric of human history. I believe this new AI will be born right here at that facility. And I predict it will make Elon the world's first trillionaire.
Dame todo el power para que tengamos
Oh, shit. Forgot to charge my phone. Let's look into those theaters this morning.
Professor.
Did you eat?
Yeah, that's why there's food right here. You haven't been like getting up and doing yoga with me?
Tight muscle.
You'll have to start getting up and doing yoga with me again.
What muscle is that? Runs down my back.
It's probably levator scapula because when you look at the screen,
es demasiada.
you always put your chin forward.
Oh, yeah.
Demasiada evasión que tiene estudiado.
Does to me, but I think everybody does it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Alexa, what's my schedule?
Here are the next 4 events. Today, at 12 p.m., there's lunch. At 2:20 p.m., there's Ben Shapiro interview on YouTube channel. At 3 p.m., there's Michael Shermer. And at 5 p.m., there's Mikhail's program. You want to hear more?
No, I haven't read Michael's book. Where is it?
Right there.
Oh, I can see it from there. I gotta read that today. I wonder how many people have watched that ice cream video.
Never mind. Just concentrate on breakfast. What do you mean, yep?
I am.
No, you have to connect your computer.
Okay, he's here. I don't really like being tangled up in the political wars. The political is interfering with the philosophical and psychological realm. That's my sense. And so that's why I got embroiled in political conflict with regards to Bill 316. The way forward through the ideological idiocy is to strengthen the individual. And so I think when I deviate from that, it's an error. It's not necessarily an avoidable error at the moment.
No hay que morirnos. No hay que morirnos. No hay que morirnos.
The first draft of
No hay que morirse.
1990. It was called War, Cause and Cure. Oh! This is from the NDP back in 1977. I ran for vice president of the NDP in Alberta. And that was the first public speech I gave. There was about 600 people. My knees shook the whole time. I'm running for the position of General Vice President of the New Democratic Party because I believe I can make a contribution to the party in at least 2 specific areas, which are as follows. Firstly, Canadian nationalism. Being a Canadian involves tolerance of everyone, no matter what language they speak, the color of their skin, or what their political beliefs might be.
3 bastones me tiró.
George interview. I'm amazed that you managed to keep that all those years.
Meanwhile, there's a budding socialist in Fairview, and he apparently is destined to go far in politics.
No.
14-year-old Jordan Peterson.
El daño físico de mierda que tiene el naranja boludo este.
You're in what now, grade 9? 10. Grade 10. There's 2 more years to go in Alberta.
Talked about Canadian unity. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? I really would like to see Canada stay together. I really would.
What do you think you have to do to ensure that it would?
I think we need culture of some kind. Something definite.
Aplica sangrado al impactar. Mira.
In Canada, so to stick us hold us together.
That's nice. I didn't sound like a smart aleck kid.
No. Well, you weren't a smart aleck kid.
Well, that's good.
Pounded you if you had
The party operatives, I didn't like them when I was 16. They were,
no.
I could tell already that most of them were driven by resentment, and that's when I read George Orwell, and he said, well, the middle-class socialist types generally don't like the poor, they just hate the rich. And I thought, oh yeah, that's it. He put his finger right on that problem. The earliest political memory I have, it was when Robert Kennedy was shot. I don't know how old I was, but probably 4 or 5. And I watched it and I thought, I would have a funeral like that. I have no idea. I have no idea why I thought that. That it was, well, that it was a very large public event. That there was a lot of grief that was associated with it. That, you know, it was the first thing that really kind of had an impact on me. I suppose that was part of the outside political world, but I was pretty young when that happened.
I am breaking up with grocery store fish for good and treating myself to a Wild Alaskan Company membership. Every month, I get a box of premium wild-caught seafood from Alaska delivered straight to my door. Unlike grocery store fish, which could be farmed, treated with antibiotics, or lose quality during transit, wild Alaskan fish is wild-caught in Alaska, then frozen at peak freshness, locking all the nutrients and pure Alaskan flavor into the fillets. The quality is always on point. It's quick and easy to make, and the taste is seriously amazing. Ditch grocery store fish and sign up for a Wild Alaskan Company membership.
It's time for you to get your reading superpowered. So stop straining your eyes and start listening instead.
Hello? Jordan? What's that?
It's a plague doctor mask.
A what doctor mask? Plague doctor. Are you the plague doctor today?
Apparently. Maybe not just today.
Oh, okay. It's been hard. So it's weird seeing these two Jordans. There's the Jordan Peterson I know. There's the Jordan Peterson I see on Twitter. And then there's the cult of Jordan Peterson, which also has its own ideas, which are sometimes only somewhat correlated with what he actually believes. Actually, have your neighbors actually talked to you about this?
Not much. I mean, I really haven't seen anyone.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, how much have we seen each other?
Not much.
Right. And I see you more than I see anyone else.
Wow.
Yeah, so how's the band going, man?
Pretty well.
Hey, sure.
I've been watching your lectures on YouTube recently, and
how you doing, man?
I'm Jesse Cook. Nice to meet you.
Jesse.
You have helped me through a lot of mental shit in the past month, and I just
I'm glad to hear that. What sort of thing?
Just going through some depression, anxiety issues. My life was out of order, and your lectures just gave me like a bit of space to work myself through, you know?
Good.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
You explained it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy to hear that.
I'm so thankful to fucking meet you and say hello to you.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure.
Keep up the great work.
My pleasure, man.
See you again one day.
Good to meet you.
He's having so many adoring fans. He's having so many people coming to him. And then he's also being confronted by people who he sees as mischaracterizing him. I get upset when I read some of the horrible things he says. And he does say horrible things sometimes. I think he doesn't see that when he's fighting this battle, he's actually falling victim to the exact same things that he's accusing them of.
Like, for a while, one of the things I proposed in Canada was that the Conservatives, in particular, cut the university funding by 25% so that the universities would have to sort themselves out. But then that was a provocative claim, obviously. But then I thought, well, that's not a good idea because it opens up the door to political interference in the academy, and that's bad.
That's
conservatively left.
Right. No, that's right. Like, convince people to shut down the women's studies departments or the SJWs. That's not opening up the dialogue. It's a derogatory term about a group of people. When you take that approach, you invalidate the other person entirely. You call them hysterical. You call them ideologically possessed. That closes any type of communication. And I think it actually undermines his message.
Does it bother you that your audience is predominantly male? Isn't that a bit divisive?
No, I don't think so. I mean, It's no more divisive than the fact that YouTube is primarily male and Tumblr is primarily female, isn't it? Tumblr is primarily female.
Do you think men and women can work in the workplace together?
I don't know.
Without sexual harassment?
We'll see. We don't know what the rules are. Like, what? Here's a rule. How about no makeup in the workplace? How about high heels? What are they for?
About high heels?
What about them? They're there to exaggerate sexual attractiveness. That's what high heels do. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't use sexual displays in the workplace. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that that is what they're doing, and that is what they're doing.
Do you feel like a serious woman who does not want sexual harassment in the workplace, do you feel like if she wears makeup in the workplace that she is somewhat being critical?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that.
When you say these kind of things, a woman may think that, oh, then I might be responsible for what this guy at the office said to me because, I was wearing makeup. So then I'm the one to be blamed.
That wasn't the point I was making.
No, but do you understand that for a woman watching this and who is a victim of sexual harassment in the workplace,
I don't care about that.
You don't care about what she may feel after she hears you?
I don't care. I really don't care particularly what people feel about facts. I thought we were talking about masculinity.
We all.
No, we're not.
Yes, we all.
No, basically what you've been trying to do, I would say, for the last 15 minutes is put me into a sequence of corners by accusing me of various forms of misbehavior.
It's funny, I think that when I read these articles, almost none of them have to do with my experience with Jordan. Right? There are these articles about how he's the savior of all the young men, who's fighting the evil oppressors that are about to take over the world, or he is this evil white supremacist Nazi who is trying to destroy everything that's good about the world.
The professor who says equal pay for women
really is that what we want to do?
Is a load of rubbish.
These differences between men and women, they're not going away.
Oh my goodness.
You have to travel a long way to find true.
Like, he doesn't believe anything the way that it was framed there. He's just a guy trying to figure out the world in a sense. I know that he thinks about things very deeply. He doesn't like to admit it, but he's a very agreeable, compassionate person under the gruff exterior. And I think he's at best when he's helping people find personal meaning. You know, that is the antidote to extremism.
Life is suffering, but love is the desire to see unnecessary suffering ameliorated. Truth is the handmaiden of love. Dialogue is the pathway to truth. So speech must be untrammeled so that dialogue can take place, so that we can all humbly learn, so that truth can serve love, so that suffering can be ameliorated, so that we can all stumble forward towards the kingdom of God. Thank you for inviting me to continue.
I kind of met him in the neighborhood. He looked a lot different as a little kid, but he had the intensity that
Lo que tengo que hacer en el juego.
he's always had. And that had to be the third time he asked me to marry.
Watch what milk does to your brain. Take a look at these 2 brain scans. They both look young, strong, and healthy, but only one.
And I finally said yes. So we said, okay, if that's going to be the case, if we're going to get married, then the guiding principle in our relationship has to be truth, or it won't work. And I said, okay. I'd never really thought much about it before. You know, so I was just looking at everything that I had built my life on and was trying to decide whether that was going to be okay or not. So he really put a bee in my bonnet. He really put a bee in my bonnet. Because when you first get together, or at least when we first got together, there was lots of old family things to have to unpack, and Jordan was relentless in unpacking those things. Say somebody was coming over for dinner, that used to make me very anxious. And Jordan would, you know, that'd be a question for him. Why was I having trouble with this? And then he wouldn't let it go. He wouldn't let it go. We'd have to get to the bottom of it. We'd have to figure it out because we didn't want to have this argument again. Over probably the first year or two we were married, oh man, we went through so many conversations, 3-day-long sometimes conversations about unpacking old generational habits and behaviors and beliefs and things to become more clear with each other about where we stood, and so that we could be standing together. Like at every step of the way, George was trying to help to keep the communication going and to keep the road smooth for all of us. And that was very, very helpful, but very, very difficult conversations. And it worked. It really did. People ask me what it's been like for me, and they always approach me like this must have been scary, or this must have been overwhelming, you know, and I travel with him, so I'm there, but he really is like plugged into the world like he never was before.
Yeah, we'll work out a detailed tour through Europe, and so and I'm looking forward to that.
And so finding moments where we have him again are precious moments. It wasn't scary, and it hasn't been overwhelming, but I've lost Jordan to the world.
Thanks for being the father I never had.
Hey, my pleasure. The best story isn't in the realm of identity politics. It isn't, well, the left has the best story or the right has the best story. It's that whole level of analysis isn't the right story. And the story that I'm telling people is that their lives matter more than they think, more than they want them to even, and that their ethical decisions determine the direction of the world.
Huge fan of the fact that this documentary is being made, because I think I said to you at the beginning that I thought that if a documentary was going to be made about what was happening at all, it should focus on the trans community and how the trans community has been affected by this. I thought that positioning it through a focus on Jordan Peterson was just going to contribute to his, you know, notoriety or him building up some anti-hero identity for himself. Watching how the things have developed, and he's stayed in the news and people still talk about him. You know, he's advising candidates for the conservative party, and just getting way more distance off that controversy that he started than anyone who was opposed to him did.
And what I've increasingly realized is something like the best story will win.